Greetings, dear friends. Before I open the doors to my life and share this difficult, life-changing story with you, I want to ask for a small favor. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It truly helps stories like this reach more people who need to hear them. And drop a comment below letting me know which city or state you're listening from. It warms my heart to know how far my voice has traveled. Get comfortable, maybe pour yourself a cup of tea. This one is long, about 20 minutes, but every minute is worth it. Happy listening. The rain in Seattle never really stops. It just pauses sometimes, like it's catching its breath before starting again. That's where I've lived for the last 45 years, in a quiet little house on a hill overlooking Puget Sound. I'm Helen Marie Thompson, 68 years old, retired nurse, widow for 15 years, mother to one daughter, Emily, and grandmother to the brightest light in my world, my 12-year-old granddaughter, Lily. I never told Emily I was coming to Denver that December. I just packed a small overnight bag, left a note for my neighbor to feed the cat, and took the red-eye flight on the 8th. Something inside me, call it a mother's instinct, call it a grandmother's fear, had been gnawing for weeks. It started with little things. Emily's voice on the phone sounded thinner, more tired than usual. She's a charge nurse in the ER, works brutal hours, so I told myself it was just exhaustion. Then Lily started texting me separately. "Grandma, Mom sleeps all the time when she's not at work. Grandma, Dad says Mom's fine, but she hasn't cooked dinner in days." And the last one, the one that made me drop everything, "Grandma, Mom hasn't gotten off the couch since Friday. She says she's okay, but I'm scared." I landed in Denver just after dawn, on December 10th. The air was sharp and cold, snow dusting the mountains in the distance. I took a cab straight to the beautiful Craftsman house I'd helped them buy 5 years ago. I put down the down payment myself, 20%, so my only child wouldn't have to struggle the way I did raising her alone after her father left. I wanted her to have roots, security, a place that felt like home. The porch light was off. The curtains were drawn tight, even though it was morning. I let myself in with the spare key Emily had given me years ago, just in case. The moment the door opened, I knew. The house smelled wrong. Stale air, unwashed laundry, takeout containers. The Christmas tree stood in the corner, half decorated, lights dark, a few lonely ornaments dangling like they'd given up. Mail was piled on the entry table, bills unopened. And there, on the living room couch, under a thin fleece blanket, was my daughter. Emily looked like a ghost of herself, pale, cheekbones sharp, lips dry and cracked. Her breathing was shallow and raspy. A glass of water and her bottle of antidepressants sat untouched on the coffee table, the prescription still full from last month's refill. "Mom?" She voice was barely a whisper. She tried to sit up and winced in pain. What are you doing here?" I didn't answer with words. I crossed the room in 3 strides, knelt beside her, and touched her forehead, burning hot. I saw the way she held her side when she breathed. Pneumonia, severe, maybe worse. I called 911 myself. The paramedics arrived within minutes. Their faces turned grim when they checked her oxygen saturation, 84%. Severe bilateral pneumonia, dehydration, early sepsis. The lead paramedic pulled me aside as they loaded her onto the stretcher. "Ma'am, if she'd been found even a day later, we might not have gotten her back." At the hospital, they rushed her straight to the ICU, intubated her, started aggressive antibiotics and fluids. The doctor, a kind but exhausted woman named Dr. Patel, explained, "She's been sick for at least a week, probably longer. She's malnourished, severely dehydrated. Someone should have brought her in days ago." Someone. My son-in-law, Marcus. I sat by Emily's bed for hours, holding her hot, limp hand, watching the ventilator do the breathing her body couldn't manage on its own. My phone stayed silent. No calls from Marcus, no texts asking how she was. Nothing. Then, just as the winter sun was setting, I looked out the large window overlooking the parking lot. And there he was. A silver Tesla Y, new, the one I'd bought them just last year. I'd paid for it in full. For the family, Marcus had said, hugging me tight. So much safer for Lily and any future grandbabies. Music thumped loudly enough that I could hear the bass even from the third floor. Marcus stepped out, laughing into his phone. Two young women climbed out of the back seat, dressed for a night out, short skirts, high heels, giggling as they linked arms with him and headed toward downtown. He never once looked up at the hospital windows, never checked his phone, just locked the car and disappeared into the city lights. I stood there frozen, watching the taillights fade. Something inside, that's when my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus lit up the screen. "Hey Mom, stuck late at a networking event downtown. How's Emily doing? Kiss her for me. Love you both." I stared at the lie glowing on the screen until the words blurred, not from tears, but from a cold, crystalline rage that settled over me like ice. Marcus had always been charming, the kind of man who could smile and make you believe the world was brighter because he was in it. When he and Emily got married 10 years ago, I was thrilled. He promised to take care of her, and for a while, it seemed like he meant it. But over the years, the jobs never lasted. Sales, real estate, consulting, always some new scheme. Emily worked double shifts to keep them afloat, while he networked. I paid their mortgage when they fell behind, covered Lily's private school tuition, bought that Tesla when he said he needed reliable transportation for client meetings. And all the while, my daughter was slowly fading. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt something shift inside me, something final. I walked to the lobby, sat in a quiet corner, and made 2 calls. The first was to the non-emergency police line. "Good evening. I'd like to report my vehicle stolen. It's a silver 2024 Tesla Y Colorado plates." I gave them every detail. Registered solely in my name. Thank God I'd insisted on that for insurance purposes. Last seen heading downtown with an unauthorized driver, possibly impaired, with passengers inside. They found it within the hour, parked outside a club. Marcus spent the night in jail. DUI, resisting arrest, grand theft auto. The women he was with bailed, furious, and by morning his social media was blowing up with posts calling him a broke liar who'd been using his mother-in-law's money to fake a lifestyle. But that wasn't enough. The second call was to my oldest friend, Ruth, an attorney I'd known since nursing school. She met me at the hospital the next morning with a thick folder. "Helen, are you sure?" she asked quietly. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. We sat in the family room and I signed every document she put in front of me. The house, deeded entirely to Emily alone. All bank accounts, investments, utilities, his name removed. The Tesla sold immediately, proceeds going straight to Emily's medical bills and Lily's college fund. Emily woke up on the 3rd day, confused, weak, but alive. When I told her, gently, what had happened, what I'd seen in the parking lot, what I'd done, she didn't cry. She just closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Mom." I was so scared to leave him because of Lily, I thought we'd lose everything. I told her, "You kept everything, and you kept yourself." Marcus showed up at the hospital on the afternoon of the second day after his release, unshaven, clothes rumpled and stained from jail, eyes red from lack of sleep and too much cheap whiskey. He stormed into the ICU waiting area like he owned the place. "Mom," he voiced cracked loud enough that a nurse looked up. "What the hell did you do to me?" I was sitting in the same plastic chair I'd claimed since arrival. I closed the book I hadn't been reading and looked up at him calmly. "Lower your voice, Marcus. People are trying to heal here."
He ignored me, striding closer until he loomed over me. "You had me arrested. You told them I stole my own car. Do you have any idea what that was like? Sitting in a cell with drunks and addicts while you—" He jabbed a finger toward the ICU doors. "While you played savior?" I met his eyes without flinching. "It was never your car. It was mine. And I saw you in the parking lot that first night, music blasting, those women hanging off you, while your wife, my daughter, was in there on a ventilator, fighting for her life." His jaw tightened. For a second, I thought he'd deny it. But he knew I'd seen him. "That was nothing," he muttered, "just blowing off steam. Work's stressful. I was coming back. I always come back." "You always come back," I repeated slowly, "when the money runs out, when the fun stops, when someone else has cleaned up your mess." He flinched like I'd struck him. "I messed up," he said quickly, switching to the voice I knew too well, the soft, pleading one. "I know I did. I've been a screw-up. But Emily needs me. Lily needs her dad. You can't just cut me out like this." Then he did something I'd seen him do 100 times when he wanted something. He sank down in front of me, first crouching, then fully onto his knees on the cold tile floor. His hands reached for mine. "Mom, please," his voice broke and tears welled up, real ones this time. "I'm scared. The house, our home, you really took it? Gave it just to her? Where am I supposed to go? What about Lily?" I pulled my hands back into my lap. "You're supposed to go somewhere far from my daughter and granddaughter," I said quietly. "Somewhere you can't hurt them anymore." His face crumpled. "You don't mean that." "I've never meant anything more in my life." He grabbed the arms of my chair, fingers digging in. "I love her. I got lost, okay? The pressure, the bills, feeling like I wasn't enough because you were always paying for everything, it messed with my head. But I can change. Therapy, AA, a real job, whatever you want. Just don't take my family." I leaned forward slightly so he couldn't look away. "You didn't lose your family, Marcus. You threw them away. Every time you chose a bar over coming home to a sick wife, every time you spent the grocery money on gambling sites, every time you told Emily she was overreacting when she begged you to stay. You threw them away long before I stepped in." A tear rolled down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. "I'm your son," he whispered. "By marriage, but you said I was like a son to you." I felt it then. The final break. Clean and irreversible. "You were," I said. "And I loved him for her sake. I excused him. I paid his bills. I told myself he was just going through a phase. But I'm done lying to myself. And I'm done watching you destroy my child." He started shaking his head frantically. "No, you can't." I already did. I reached into my bag and pulled out the documents Ruth had given me that morning. The new deed, the divorce papers Emily had signed in her hospital bed once she understood everything, the restraining order application. I held them up so he could see. His eyes scanned the pages, pupils dilating in panic. The color drained from his face. She signed? She woke up, and the first thing she asked for wasn't you. It was Lily and safety. He made a wounded sound and lunged for the papers. I pulled them back. Security was already moving toward us, the two guards I'd spoken to earlier when Marcus started flooding my phone with desperate voicemails. He saw them coming and scrambled to his feet. "This isn't over," he hissed through tears. "I am her husband, Lily's father. The courts will see the bank records, the gambling losses, the strip clubs, the fact that you left your critically ill wife alone for days while you partied. Good luck." The guards took his arms. He didn't fight them physically, but he shouted over his shoulder as they led him away. "I'll fight this! I'll get a lawyer! You haven't heard the last of me!" The elevator doors closed on his tear-streaked, furious face. I sat back down, hands trembling now that it was over, not from fear, but from the sheer force it had taken to stay steady while I cut him out of our lives forever. Emily recovered slowly. Month by month, she grew stronger. The house became truly hers. She filed for divorce, got full custody of Lily without a fight. Marcus never even showed up to court after his lawyer saw the evidence. She's back at work now, promoted actually, to nurse manager. She paints again in her spare time, beautiful watercolors of the Rocky Mountains at sunset. Lily is thriving in school, playing soccer, laughing in a way I hadn't heard in years. Marcus, well, last I heard through mutual acquaintances, he's washing dishes at a dive bar downtown, sleeping on a series of couches that keep getting shorter. He texts sometimes, from new numbers, begging, apologizing, threatening. I block every one. Some people say I was cruel, that family forgives everything, that I should have helped him get treatment, given him one more chance, paid for rehab. But I look at my daughter and granddaughter now, safe, happy, free, and I know I did the only thing I could. There's a point where love stops being love and becomes enabling. I reached that point the night I saw him laughing in that parking lot while my child was laying dying. I cut the poison out, and we all healed because of it. That's my story, dear friends. A story about blind love, about waking up, and about choosing to protect the ones that truly matter, even when it means letting go of someone you once called family. Was I right? Was I too harsh on a man who was, after all, my son-in-law for 10 years? Or is there a line that once crossed means forgiveness would only cause more harm? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And please tell me, where are you listening from tonight? If this story touched you, consider sending a super thanks. It helps me keep sharing these real-life experiences. There are 2 more stories on screen right now that I think you'll love. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss one. Thank you for spending these 20 minutes with me. With love and gratitude. Until next time.